Alright everyone, welcome back again to more of The Hungry Lamb. When we last left off, we ended up getting one of the first endings, and it was honestly bittersweet. And now I'm going to try for another one, and hopefully we get a different outcome. Probably, and hopefully something more preferable than what we last got, but we'll see. So if anything else, hope you all continue to enjoy. Thank you again for your love and support. And here we go. Alright, let's see what happens if we just give them a scolding. Stop it. I spoke up to stop the girl, and at the same time I stopped stepping on the beggars lying on the ground. I'm not gonna kill your dad and uncle, so you don't need to hit me either. I grabbed the girl's stick and said to her. The girl stopped hitting me. She dropped the stick and looked at me all sad, like I was the one who'd been whacking her with it.
你真不杀他们？
Nope. I said it, I'll stick to it. I said quietly. Get up. I reckon I didn't beat you too hard. After talking to the girl, I turned to the two beggars lying on the ground. The two leaned on each other, slowly rising from the ground. They seemed rattled, lips trembling. Hesitant to stand fully, they cautiously assessed my intention and stooped over. I'll spare you this time for the sake of the girl, but using your hands for such deeds will corrupt your girl sooner or later. If I catch you again, whether she's around or not, I'll beat you senseless and hand you over to the government. I warned them coldly. Dealing with these robbers, only this kind of warning works. Though when I said these words, it felt a bit uneasy. After all, I'm a bandit myself, yet here I am acting like I'll send them straight to the government. Quite ironic.
不敢了，俺们再也不敢了。
He cowered as I scolded him sternly, promising to mend his ways. Seems like they won't dare after this. Alright, let's see if it's any different if we skip. Oh, it's already skipped. Alright. We walked by the river through the dark, dirty alleys, Luyang. Many people were in ragged clothes, wrapped up in hay, sleeping on the side of the road. They were sprawled out or curled up, some even lying face down, not making a peep. Most of them were alone. But a few were huddled with their families, keeping warm together. They seemed more likely to be alive and sleeping than the others. It was hard to tell if they were asleep or dead. If they were asleep, they might not be far from death. If they were dead, at least they were resting peacefully. Alright, the Vermilion Gate reeks of meat and wine. I read this part. Yeah.
不卖我。杨爷，
Is it still the same thing? Mansui was standing at the far end of the street in Luyang, with her back toward me. She was standing on the street just after it had rained. The pavement reflected her figure like a bronze mirror, making her look as though she was standing on a river. Though she wasn't carrying an umbrella, she appeared immaculate, as if not a droplet of rain touched her clothes. Hey, little brat. I quickly took a few steps forward, trying to approach her. Regardless, the appearance of the little brat still put me at ease. I got closer and reached out to pat her shoulder. Her body trembled, and then she slowly turned her head around. I saw her gazing at me with tears welling up in her eyes. Why was she crying? I couldn't understand why she was crying. Her tears slid from her eyes, then her figure gradually blurred until it disappeared. Suddenly, the sound of sticks striking the ground echoed around me. At a loss, I glanced around. I was somehow surrounded by soldiers. The soldiers formed a tight circle around me that felt as if confining as an iron barrel to make sure I couldn't escape. Their stern faces were concealed beneath their hats. They kept striking the sticks in their hands. The striking sound intensified from scattered drizzle to dense raindrops. They were here to arrest me. They were here to seek justice for the people I'd killed. No way. Run quickly. I wanted to run, but the circle around me was getting smaller and smaller. Those soldiers used their sticks to tap the ground while they quickly walked toward me. In the end, they raised their arms wielding their long sticks high and swung them down at me in unison. Okay, that was the nightmare. Is it the same thing still? Oh, okay, it's probably a new scene now. Ha! I woke up from the dream. I was sitting on the bed in the inn, my back soaked with cold sweat. What was that dream? I had a dream. A strange dream. What did that dream mean? I didn't really get its meaning. I wiped the sweat from my forehead and scrambled out of bed. I grabbed my blade, packed my belongings, and then headed to the inn's lobby, intending to leave. Glancing out the peep on the street from the inn's lobby, I saw a bustling activity indicating it was at least mid-morning. How come I got up this late? Let's go find that little brat again today. If I still can't find her, then I'll just assume she's run away. And I'll leave Liu Yang myself.
哎，客官，等等，
The waiter at the inn called out to me when I was about to leave. What is it? I furrowed my brow and asked the waiter, feeling a bit confused.
客官，您昨天来办住店时，身旁是不是跟着一个小女娃？
Are you still going to tell me the same thing? You're going to give me the, what do you call, that souvenir that was her father's? Alright, I instantly felt a pang of anxiety. Yeah, I did. What happened? Was she here just now?
对，她是在城中想了不久后来的。那娃子塞给我一吊钱，想托我给您留个东西。
What's that? I stared blankly at the waiter. The waiter handed me a small bag. Could it be that she's returning the shoes I gave her? I took a guess as I looked into the small bundle. The size of the bundle didn't seem right for shoes. I slowly unwrapped the bundle, and the thing inside caught me by surprise. It was a pouch. The pouch was red, sewn together with patches, yet it looked new, adorned with the pale character on top. Is this? I mumbled to myself while looking at the pouch. A sudden stab of pain shot through my temple. Yeah, I read this. Can I skip this? Yes, I can. Why couldn't I skip it before? Alright, is this new? Let's find out.
客官，
Yeah, this seems new. Because he keeps stopping. At that moment, the waiter gently called out to me. Yeah? I felt like a startled bird. At the slightest call from the waiter, I responded
我忽
nervously.
然想起了一件事儿。那个小女娃除了这个荷包，还让我给您带了一句话：
Is the message different?
快逃！
Okay, it is different. Flee quickly. The waiter slowly uttered 2 words. Upon hearing these 2 words, my body trembled violently, and in the next instant, I hastily grabbed the package and dashed out of the inn. My keen intuition told me that this little brat had done something extraordinary. Her flee quickly was her final message to me. Somehow, I trusted this as a warning from her, rather than suspecting it to be a part of a deception. It was a final warning tinged with a sense of retaliation. No way. I not only had to escape from the inn quickly, but also flee from this city. Luoyang City must be unsafe. I had to flee. Run quickly. Just like in his dream. I didn't manage to escape from Luoyang City, because when I attempted to flee, all 4 city gates of Luoyang were crowded with guards. The guards and soldiers rigorously inspected everyone leaving the city. I knew they were probably looking for me. Now I'm hiding under the floorboards of a run-down temple in the city like a rat. I strained my ears listening to more and more soldiers patrolling around, feeling anxious and paranoid. They've been searching for me relentlessly. It won't be long before they catch me. Why were these soldiers after me? Thinking about it, I couldn't help but admire the little brat's cunning schemes. Just as I discovered these soldiers were looking for me, I thought she might have reported my actions as a bandit to the authorities or disclosed my role as a human trafficker. At the time, I held on to a glimmer of hope, thinking that in these chaotic times, with so many bandits and human traffickers around, and with the government's inefficiency, I would surely have time to escape. However, I still underestimated her. Before hiding in this rundown temple, I searched everywhere for a hiding place and pieced together some information from what I overheard. I didn't expect that little brat had stirred up a hornet's nest, and as a result, she had ensnared me in her trap. That's what I figured was going to happen in the original ending, because she found out about, apparently I murdered her dad. After leaving me the pouch in the inn at daybreak, that little brat armed herself with a short blade and stormed into the swine demon's palace intending to assassinate him. The result was as expected. She failed. She couldn't even locate where the swine demon resided before guards captured. Oh, okay, I thought she was coming after me. Whether she quickly took her own life when she was arrested or was killed by the guards, the message that spread was that she had died. However, the matter didn't come to an end. Somehow, she might have said something before her death, or perhaps she had left something behind on her body. I was framed as her accomplice, even as the mastermind behind her actions, becoming the prime suspect in the assassination attempt on the Lord. Soldiers were interrogating people we have seen last night. The waiter, beggars, various vendors. They were holding up a portrait of me and searching everywhere. Ah, okay. Wow. Alright. Now they've sealed off the city gates and plastered the streets with wanted posters carrying my portrait. Great. Great job. Little brat, was this your revenge on me? I leaned against the wall of the dilapidated temple, checking with a mixture of admiration and self-deprecation. Here I was, finally trying to be a good person, only to be falsely accused by you for a capital crime, hunted throughout the entire city. Even if I had surrendered myself, who would have believed me? Forget the fact that I was already a bandit with a murderer, inherently untrustworthy and unlikely to unwillingly walk into a trap. But even if I were innocent, who wouldn't believe a young girl who gave up her life for the attempted assassination? And if a young girl could have led the authorities to a mastermind, who would have believed that? We visited so many places last night, so those testimonies would undoubtedly confirm our association. I had no one I could trust in Liu Yang. Sooner or later, I'll have to venture out for food, and it won't be long before someone reports me for the reward. Little brat, your warning to flee quickly in the morning might have been useful if I got up early, allowing me to flee before the city was sealed off. But having got up later, don't I just have to slink around the city like this, waiting to die? Was this your idea for revenge, little brat? I killed your father, and you wanted to kill me in return at first, but you felt that wasn't enough, so you framed me for the assassination attempt on the Lord, ensuring a more agonizing death and the possibility of having 3 generations of my family executed. Every step of the way had all been a part of your plan. Quite the masterstroke. But I didn't really get it. Having done all that, why did you still leave me a message to flee quickly? In the end, I still couldn't see through that little brat. I couldn't understand why she had deceived me all along, ultimately betraying me to such a deadly end, yet still left me with a single phrase, flee quickly. Why did she do that exactly? No answers.
哎，这里还没找，找找这个破庙。
As I pondered the meaning behind our final message, the soldiers had already surrounded this rundown temple. The sound of boots echoed all around, eerily reminiscent of the scene from my dream yesterday. I tremble at the sound of the soldiers approaching. Yesterday in my dream, it was these soldiers who captured me, and I was captured before I could resist. Now, I was hiding just like that, knowing that soon they would find me, drag me out, and take me to the dungeon where I would face torture and capital punishment. This situation, I'm like a rat. How did I end up like this? Back then, I had aspirations of becoming a hero. Why did things turn out like this? I refused to accept it. I couldn't. I was gonna die anyway. It's better to die with dignity. It's better to die a hero than to die a rat. Damn it. Screw this. Oh, what are you gonna do? Just as the soldiers stormed the rundown temple and approached me from all sides, I didn't continue to hide. Instead, I lifted the floorboards of the temple and charged out with my blade drawn. Oh my god, here we go. Screw this. I yelled as I burst out of the rundown temple. One of the soldiers spotted me, charging out of the temple, and shouted, pointing his sword at me. His eyes gleamed with greed. Oh, I had seen that wanted poster. The person who caught me would receive a hefty reward, 1,000 taels. I wondered if, as a government official, he would be able to claim that reward. Huh, not good. I didn't like the look of this guy. He rubbed me the wrong way. I couldn't let him claim the reward. With a swift step, I lunged forward, drawing my sword and swinging it. One swift strike, I immediately took down the first soldier who spotted me. With a swift motion, blood sprayed as his neck met my blade, and he fell back, clutching his bleeding neck, stiffening as he collapsed. One down.
贼人杀了李武，快上，杀了他！别杀，留他一命。之前的小贼死了，王爷说这个要留活口，我们要审。
2 soldiers shouted at me, 4 more came at me from different directions, and 8 more were on their way. Meanwhile, the onlookers from Liuyang City were also drawn by the commotion, gathering in great numbers. Screw your nonsense. No one's pulling my strings. I had no other accomplices except for that dead little brat from before, not one. If anyone's behind this, it's your lord himself. He was the one who forced us into this. I roared back at them, uttering fearless nonsense. My words, though illogical, seemed to strike a chord of truth, leaving the people momentarily perplexed. The soldiers who were trying to catch me looked bewildered, perhaps thinking I had gone mad. Before they could react, I charged forward with my blade. Engaging the 4 soldiers at the forefront, I unleashed the culmination of my lifelong skills. Please kill them all. I managed to take down 2, but the blades of the other 2 pierced through my eye. I guess this is it. Faced with 4 hands against my 2 fists, let alone 8, it seemed I was about to be overwhelmed. The icy blades pierced my internal organs, sending a chilling sensation through my gut. A metallic taste flooded my mouth as blood surged up. I almost coughed up blood. I scanned my surroundings for the bloodshot eyes, taking in the growing crowd of soldiers and onlookers. Meeting the gazes of the onlookers, I saw only fear and disbelief in their eyes. They were like a herd of sheep. Stupid sheep. Sheep? You sheep. If only you gathered together, you could have become wolves. As wolves, you could have stormed into that swine demon's residence and tear that swine demon into shreds. Why would you settle for being sheep? I glanced at the onlookers and found them utterly ridiculous. For some reason, my blood started boiling. At that moment, I felt even stronger urge to play the role of a hero. I wanted to become a hero forever etched in the memories of these sheep. The swine demon is responsible for the death of countless innocents. How many children have fallen victim to his cruelty? Today, even if our assassination attempt failed, there will be others to carry on our cause. No one was born a lord. I tightened my grip on the blade and roared to the surrounding crowd. Next, the soldiers charged, and their blades and spears came at me from all sides. 3 swords and 5 spears turned me into a hedgehog in an instant. I drooped my head. I was lifted by several long spears with blood gurgling in my mouth. There was no hope I could survive that. Everything went black before my eyes in an instant. I knew this darkness would lead me to eternal death. I made a final effort to lift my heavy eyes and cast a glance at the sheep gathered around. Most of the sheep were still sheep after hearing my words. Their gazes were still bewildered, frightened, and uncomprehending. Yet a few, because of what I had just done and said, had a different gleam in their eyes. It was a light of doubt, anger, sorrow, and fervor. It was also a light of admiration, longing to be a hero, lamenting the loss of chivalry, and aspiring to become one. Who is the hero? Well, it must be me. Little brat, I got it. I finally understood why you chose to leave me with the words flee quickly in the end. Perhaps you wanted to leave my life in death to fate and give me, the sworn enemy of yours who killed your father, a chance to escape from the clutches of death. At the same time, you probably guessed. Even if I couldn't escape, with your reminder, I wouldn't be caught off guard by those soldiers. I would have enough time to consider my final actions before facing death. I wouldn't die suddenly or in disgrace. At least before I died, I would do what I wanted to do. From one perspective, you ruined me, unjustly framing me as a criminal to have 3 generations of my family executed. From another perspective, you actually fulfilled me. You allowed me to finally realize my dream of becoming a hero at the end of my muddied life. White robe, black armor, plain headscarf, serpent spear gripped in hand. Now facing Lu Bu in battle, no way that scoundrel escapes my Zhang Fei's hands. As my consciousness faded away in my mind, I heard the faint echo of her singing, the Shadowplay tunes. She didn't look at me and kept singing to herself as if she couldn't see me. She sat in front of the white screen of the Shadowplay, repeating the lyrics over and over again. Another ending attained, but not the one I wanted. After leaving Wainan, I kept going west and arrived at Chang'an City. The city walls of Chang'an were thick and tall like a mountain range. I snuck into the city by hiding in an ox cart carrying goods. There were plenty of people coming and going. The streets here were wide, spacious enough to accommodate 5 carts side by side. I heard that Chang'an had been a capital of many dynasties and was the most prosperous place in Shan. Did I see this one already? Let's find out. Nope. Okay. However, with revenge burning in my heart and limited money and food, I had no desire to explore Chang'an. I started searching for Yan Yue Mansion the second I got into the city. Then, I was kicked out by the servants guarding the entrance.
哎，去，出去！这里不是小女娲该来的地方啊！
大爷，别赶我，我只是想来打听些事情。
爹妈怎么教的你？哪有来这里打听事情的？
我就是找不到爹爹了，想打听爹爹的事。
嘿，那你更不该来这儿了。
怎么不该？让我进去问问吧。我没有钱粮，但是可以给你们做事。我会做饭，会扫地，我什么都能学。
哎，这里做事儿不要小娃子。哎，怎么跟你说的？快走啊！
The servant ushered me away, his face flushed with frustration. Many of the guests around the entrance burst into laughter upon seeing this scene. Why did they laugh? I watched the people around me burst into laughter and felt even more convinced that it didn't seem like a good place. Right when I was about to leave Yanyue Mansion, a woman's laughter filled the air.
笑死了，这都是啥世道嘛？竟能碰到这么小的女娃，讨这儿心的。
A woman walked out from Yanyue Mansion. She wore a gown that billowed like smoke, her hair falling softly over her chest, adorned with a striking golden hairpin. That lady was perhaps the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. At that moment, she was looking at me and laughing like mad while gently waving the fan in her hand.
云姐，让您见了笑话，我这就轰她走。
The servant who was kicking me out spotted her and quickly bowed respectfully to the woman.
哎，别哄！你就不好奇这女娃子为何到这儿来找爹爹吗？轰走了多无趣啊！
The woman known as Sis Yun smiled and stopped the servant from kicking me out.
3楼找一小间，带她上来和我聊聊。
Okay, so unlike the other flashback we had in the previous ending, where she found a nice old man that taught her how to cook, taught her a little bit how to cook, I believe, and also sheltered her, we have this rich woman that's taking her in now. Okay. Sis Yun whispered to the servant, then turned around and covered her face with the fan as she slowly walked into Yanyue Tower. I stared blankly at her. After a moment, I heard the voices of the surrounding guests discussing, as well as the servant urging me to follow him upstairs. I followed the servant to a small room on the 3rd floor. Sis Yun was waiting for me inside by the table. She finished a cup of tea and served me one while she gestured for me to sit at the table in front of her.
小姑娘，你为何来这里找你爹？
我想来这里打听一些我爹的消息。听说常来这的客人，大概是害了我爹的人。
哦，我们这儿的客人还会害你爹？
I stopped talking. I didn't want to go into details with her, so I lowered my head.
看来是有什么难言之隐呀。那给我讲讲呗。你不给我讲，要我怎么帮你啊？
I then told Sis Yun about what happened back home. Our family suffered from the disaster and didn't have any food. My dad left home to sell the family heirloom so our family could survive, but he never came back. I didn't go into details with her about what happened after that. I simply said everyone but me and my family was dead. In the end, I burst into tears. When I was at the inn, Grandpa Chef never asked in detail about what happened to my family, so I never told him. Oh, okay, so it continues on with the whole, the old man, taking her in for a bit. And then she moves on further into this area. Okay. I thought it was like a separate timeline now. But as soon as I got here, I ended up telling her everything when Sis Yun asked. After sharing my family story so openly with someone else for the first time, I couldn't help but cry.
你这娃儿也是命苦。听了你说的这些后，我觉得你猜得不错。 你爹大概就是被盗匪害了。今后你想留，便留在这里吧。每天为我做些事，我帮你打听些盗匪的消息，也教你点东西。你看如何？
Okay, now that's interesting. Alright, so that's probably how she got molded into the character she is presently. Sis Yun heard what I had gone through and patted me on the shoulder. I wiped off my tears and nodded. I decided I would stay in Yanyue Mansion for a while. After that, I became a servant of Sis Yun. Every day I served her tea and water and ran some errands. They were all very simple tasks. When Sis Yun had some free time, she would occasionally teach me how to read, discuss the information she gathered from inquiring about the bandits, and even impart some life skills to me. Sis Yun often said that I was too straightforward with people and that I shouldn't be so naive when dealing with others. She was also like this when she was first brought from the mountain village to Yanyue Mansion. She always spoke the truth to everyone without telling a single lie. She said that sometimes you have to tell lies to achieve your goals. If it was indeed some bandit who killed your dad, seeking revenge wouldn't be so easy. I would need to tell many lies to get close to my enemy, and then tell even more lies to gain his trust, and then, when his guard was down, betray him and kill him. Sis Yun taught me a lot of stuff. Well, that explains why a majority of her stories, as Liang put it, was filled with a lot of holes and felt iffy. I stayed at Yanyue Mansion for a very long time, almost as long as I stayed at the inn. 1 month, 2 months, 6 months passed in the blink of an eye, and I continued to work as an assistant for Sishyun. After 7 months, I began to suspect that Sishyun wasn't keeping her promise. There actually weren't as many bandits coming to Yanyue Mansion as she had claimed. In fact, there were only a few throughout the year. I never saw her inquire about Dad with those bandits. She only shared drinks and exchanged laughter with them. After the first month, Sishyun never brought up Dad's matter again with me, as if she had forgotten all about it. Just when I was about to ask her, she suddenly came to find me one day in the 8th month.
这个给你，你可以去找你爹爹了。
Sishyun handed me a note that had words written in an ink brush on it. On the left were the names of several cities, each followed by the names of some shops.
云姐，这是
I was confused and asked Sishyun.
前2年闹荒，那些盗匪出的勤快，杀的人可太多了。我若是一个个问他们，哪怕有哪个真的杀了你爹爹，他们也未必记得住。不过，我跟他们聊了聊，他们说呀，其实他们要是抢了东西不好卖出手的时候，就会把东西卖给当铺。这些当铺都是些给山贼销赃的黑当铺。我给你的字条上列了闪地一些黑当铺的地址，你自己去找找吧。
I see. I got what Sishyun meant. Dad left home with the family heirloom on him. If he couldn't find a good buyer, he'd definitely sell to a pawn shop. If the bandits robbed Dad and they couldn't sell the family heirloom easily, they'd sell to a pawn shop as well. Regardless of the circumstances, if I found our family heirloom in any of those pawn shops, I could potentially uncover clues about Dad.
谢谢云姐。
I held on to the note Sishyun had given me, feeling a renewed sense of hope bubbling inside me. Over the following year, I traveled to many cities in Shan, following the clues in the note to find these dodgy pawn shops. I wanted to examine a lot of goods, but it wasn't easy to do so. Being young, many of the owners of these shops would chase me away upon hearing that I wanted to buy goods before I even got a chance to look. So I often had to do odd jobs at nearby inns to earn money. Once I saved up enough to deposit with the shop owners, I could finally inspect the goods. Sometimes, if I looked at the goods but decided not to buy, the shopkeepers would bully me because I was a child and try to take away the money I had deposited with them. Chang'an, Fuping, Pucheng, and Weinan. I visited the dodgy pawn shops in those 4 cities, but I didn't see the family heirloom Dad had taken, nor did I find any other clues. After searching those 4 cities, I returned to Weinan and went to the inn where Grandpa Chef worked. When I arrived, Grandpa Chef had just passed away. He had no children and didn't leave much behind. The innkeeper covered the funeral expenses and there wasn't much ceremony. The innkeeper told me that Grandpa Chef left me a pair of shoes. They were simple cloth shoes, not worth much, but they could replace the worn-out straw shoes I had been wearing. I put on shoes he had left me and continued south, heading to the dodgy pawn shop in Huazhao City.
老爷，这里的当铺都卖些啥？我想看看有啥能买的货。
哎，去，娃子一边玩去。
我有钱，我想去后面的库房把货都看一遍。
I took out the silver pieces and showed them to the pawn shop owner.
不行，有钱也不能给你这小娃子看。
那我若是什么都不买，到时候就赔给老爷1两碎银。
哦，你这小娃子该不会是想骗我吧？
我是当真的，我先把银子压在这儿，说话算数。
Wow. Sishyun actually taught her well, especially on how to negotiate. Good for her. From the bundle, I fumbled out 1 tile of silver pieces and placed them on the counter at the pawn shop. The pawn shop owner cast a skeptical glance at me, then reached out with his chubby hand and took the silver pieces I placed on the counter. He bit down the silver pieces, testing their authenticity, before finally seeming satisfied.
咦，这年头，小娃子一个比一个怪。行，那你进去吧，看一会儿就得出来啊，也别给我翻乱了。
The pawn shop owner rambled on as he shook his chubby body, then grabbed a bunch of keys to unlock the door to the warehouse in the back. Once the door was open, I didn't pay him any more mind. I hurriedly dashed inside. The warehouse wasn't too big. There were only 2 shelves in it. There were various items on the shelves: candlesticks, pipes, belts, and used books, sachets, rouge, jade pendants, and earrings. These used items were covered in a layer of dust, with some showing signs of wear and tear or faint scratches. Some of them seemed to have dried black blood on them, indicating that they were indeed looted by bandits. Now abandoned in this dim pawnshop warehouse, they were unlikely to be cherished again. Many of their original owners were no longer around, and the story surrounding these used items came to an abrupt end. I examined each item carefully, trying to find the one that could represent Dad. Family heirloom. Family heirloom. Family heirloom. Where could the family heirloom that Dad brought with him be? I scanned the shelves back and forth twice, but I didn't spot anything that resembled the family heirloom. But as I scanned for the 3rd time, I stumbled upon an unexpected discovery.
这是
I walked over to one of the shelves in a daze. There was a familiar item placed on the shelf. A pouch. This pouch looked like the one I gave to Dad. I slowly took down the pouch from the shelf and examined it carefully. This pouch was indeed the one I made for Dad. It was stitched up by my own hand, using the fabric from my dress, so there was no mistaking it. It was red, with the light-colored character "on" embroidered on it, because I wanted it to bring him safety. Knowing Dad, he would never lose or pawn off a pouch I gave him. Someone must have killed him and brought this pouch here to pawn it off. I found it. I finally found it. I finally found the clue about Dad that I'd been seeking for 3 years.
哎，小娃子，找到想买的东西没？
找到了。
找到了。哦，我看看，你想买啥呀？
The pawnshop owner shook his chubby body and squeezed into the warehouse door. He saw me crying the instant he walked in and was shocked. At the time, I was crying, holding the pouch with one hand while wiping away tears with the other. I didn't know why I was crying. Perhaps I was crying for my dad. I was sure now that Dad must have been killed by some bandits and I could never see him again. Perhaps I was crying for myself too. After searching for so many years, traveling through so many cities, and enduring so much hardships, I finally found a clue about Dad.
哎，小娃子，你这是哭啥呀？就是买个旧荷包，至于哭吗？
Dude, it's also about the memories that were in that pouch to begin with. I wiped away my tears and looked toward the pawnshop owner.
老爷，这个荷包是谁卖给你的？
你问这个干啥？
这荷包是我做的，原本是我给爹爹的。爹爹一直不回来，我们全家都死了。我想知道是谁把这个荷包卖过来的，是爹爹还是哪个坏人？老爷，如果你能告诉我卖这个荷包的是谁，多少钱我都愿意给。你觉得不够，我就赚，1年、2年、3年，都给你赚。我一定要知道卖它的人是谁。
Alright, you need to do better negotiating. Don't give him everything. Tears streamed down my face, my jaw quivering uncontrollably. Yet I spoke to the owner with determination. I handed him the coin pouch tied to my waist. It contained the silver piece I had diligently saved over the past few months. Sishyun taught me before that I must know how to lie to achieve my goals. But I didn't lie this time. Instead, I cried and told the owner everything. Afterward, the shopkeeper sighed and proceeded to ask me several questions in detail. Then, he took my money and said that one day, something serious was going to happen since he was breaking the street's rules, all while sharing the information I sought. Dad was indeed murdered by someone. The person who sold the pouch here was a bandit. He often killed people near Huazao and frequented this shop to unload his loot. The owner told me a lot about that bandit, and that's how I found out the bandit's name. My sworn enemy's name was Liang. He was a bandit who roamed around Shan. He was constantly on the move and often seen with a person called Tung, and he was in Huazao a month ago. Ooh, okay. He sold this pouch 2 years ago. He would come to Huazao 2 or 3 times every year and stay for a month or so each time. He often took jobs from a guy named Yin San. Liang. Liang. Liang, 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 Liang. Liang! I repeated his name dozens of times in my mind, etching it into my memory. I wiped away the tears on my face. My teeth bit into my lower lip, drawing blood. My nails dug into my palms, drawing blood. The bandit named Liang killed Dad. caused the death of my family and became the sworn enemy of mine that I will hate for the rest of my life. Liang, I must find you, lie to you, betray you, and kill you. Liang, seeking revenge on you is the only purpose for me to live on. Okay. Bodies of the Starved. From then on, she made the world her home. Alright, so that's how that came to be. That is, wow, that was interesting. So it turns out, I feel like, because I honestly just wanted to just find and pick and choose like a particular route that may lead me to a better ending, but I think I might actually have to unlock a majority of these endings to get the full story. Is that what they want me to do? Well, either way, guys, thank you all for watching. We managed to achieve another ending that, even though it wasn't a fruitful one that we were all expecting to get, it was still something. More insightful than ever, and it gave us a more in-depth look as to how Matsuri became the person she is. And I find that to be really gripping, you know? So now, I don't know, I'm just going to keep choosing other choices that hopefully lead me to other routes that lead to other endings. Hopefully the one that we're all expecting to get. So, if anything else, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Thank you again for watching.